Christmas Eve has a way of making loneliness louder. For 22-year-old Emily Carter, the silence that night felt heavier than the snow falling around her. The city sparkled with lights and music, but she sat on a frozen curb, tears drying cold on her cheeks, clutching a small wrapped gift no one would open. Her phone had gone silent hours earlier, after one final message from her family made it painfully clear she wasn't welcome. Not tonight, maybe never again. If you believe in kindness, in second chances, in the idea that strangers can become family, take a moment to like this video, share it with someone who needs hope, and tell us in the comments where you're watching from. Because this story is for anyone who's ever felt forgotten when they needed love the most. Emily had spent weeks convincing herself this Christmas would be different. That time would heal what words had broken. She wrapped gifts with shaky hands, hoping this year might thaw her parents' hearts. But when she stood on their porch earlier that evening, the only warmth she found was the glow of the porch light before the door quietly shut in her face. No yelling, no drama, just a polite rejection sharp enough to cut deep. She turned away before the tears came, pretending she was strong enough to handle it. By the time she walked downtown, the cold had sunk into her bones. Snow coated the streets. Christmas songs drifted faintly from passing cars. She sank onto the curb outside a closed diner, the gift beside her, a small box meant for her younger brother. She'd saved for months to buy it, even when she barely had enough for herself. Now it sat unopened, a symbol of love with nowhere to go. Around her, people passed by holding hands, carrying shopping bags, and laughing in the glow of streetlights. Every sound reminded her of what she'd lost. Minutes stretched into hours until, from somewhere down the street, came the roar of engines, slow, steady, and growing louder. Headlights pierced through the falling snow. A line of motorcycles rolled down the empty street, riders in dark jackets, faces hidden behind helmets. They weren't out for trouble. They were part of the Iron Shepherd's Motorcycle Club, riding through town for their yearly Christmas Eve ride, a tradition of giving back, not raising hell. As they passed, one of the riders noticed Emily sitting alone. Instinct kicked in. The group slowed down and stopped nearby, engines idling like a steady heartbeat. Snow settled on their leather jackets as they took in the sight of the young woman shivering on the curb. The lead rider, Jack Lawson, a broad-shouldered man with gray at his temples and eyes that had seen both storms and sun, stepped off his bike. His boots crunched softly in the snow as he approached, stopping a few feet away. He didn't say much, just knelt slightly and asked, "You okay, miss?" Emily wiped her eyes, embarrassed, and nodded, though she clearly wasn't fine. Jack didn't push. Instead, he motioned to one of his brothers, who returned with a spare blanket and gently wrapped it around her shoulders. Another handed her a paper cup of hot chocolate that steamed against the cold air. Those simple acts broke through the wall she'd built all night. She started to cry again, this time not from pain, but from relief. No one demanded her story. No one judged her. They just stayed close, making sure she wasn't alone. Jack glanced at the small gift beside her. "Someone special?" he asked quietly. Emily hesitated. "My little brother. I was supposed to give this to him tonight." Jack nodded, his expression softening with understanding. The bikers told her they were heading to a local community center to drop off food and gifts for families in need. When Jack realized she had nowhere to go, he didn't even need to ask the others. They all knew what to do. "Come on," he said kindly. "No one should be alone on Christmas Eve." They helped her up, careful not to rush her, and she followed them through the snow to the hall. Inside, the air was warm and bright. Tables were lined with food, laughter filled the room, and volunteers moved around wrapping gifts for kids. It wasn't fancy, but it was alive with kindness, with purpose. Emily sat among the bikers and volunteers, eating, listening, slowly thawing inside and out. Nobody asked what had happened. Nobody needed to. For the first time in a long while, she felt safe. She watched as the iron shepherds prepared care packages with rough hands and gentle hearts, and something inside her began to heal. Before the night ended, Emily looked at the little present she'd carried for miles. She smiled softly and placed it among the other donations. Maybe her brother would never open it, but someone who needed love just as much would. As the snow stopped outside and the city grew quiet, Emily stepped back into the night with a new warmth in her chest. She didn't know what the future would bring, but she knew this family isn't always the one you're born into. Sometimes it's the people who stop, who notice, who choose kindness when they don't have to. That Christmas Eve, the Iron Shepherds gave her something she'd never forget. The reminder that even in the coldest nights, compassion can still find you.